Welcome to the Honest Man podcast, a discussion among men of various perspectives from subjects from the taboo to the typical. This is episode 6, and it's going to be all about aging and maturing as a man, both mentally and physically. But before we get into it, we have to get a big congratulations out to Indy, who has officially announced we've actually leaked it on the podcast. Like, the people know, but the public didn't know you're pregnant.
Yes. We are very excited. It's been a long road to get to this point. But yeah, man, we're excited to be here.
Yeah. So anybody out there who knows Indy or just wants to give the congrats, leave it on socials, leave a comment on our website. You can fill out a form or you can do questions, comments, all those sorts of things. Send all the love for him and his wife, Sarah, who are pregnant. So that's exciting. Yeah. And we'll probably tie into somewhat about maturing as a man, because you got, if you're not growing up yet, it's about to happen.
This is very true.
I just want to say that I'm very excited to be a very, very positive influence on this child.
Me too, dude.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun, man.
So much trouble.
That baby's gonna have the best uncles.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
All right, so we're going to be following a bit of not a script here, but trying to basically flow through things in this order. For those of you who are listening now, maybe you're more interested in one section or the other. We're going to start with maturing in general, some more of the mental aspects and things like that, and then we'll be diving into the physical aspects, and then of course medical and things like that come after the physical. So kicking things off, all about maturing, it's going to be with this question: how do you define a mature man? And whoever wants to kick that off.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Maturity as a whole is a tough thing to think about, but I think being self-sufficient is probably one of the key points of that. You're no longer relying on anybody else for anything. You're able to take care of yourself financially and physically, and having that independence.
Okay. Mine would probably be being able to make good life decisions on your own for the most part. Doesn't mean you're going to make the right decision every time, but just being of the ability to look at a situation and generally make a good decision, right? And as whatever it might be, just being able to make the right choice more often than not is where I think you kind of cross that line into I'm mature.
I think it comes down to, loving yourself and being confident with yourself and the person that you are.
Hell yeah. I think it's a combination of all those things. I think all of those things together are what equals, I would say, capable. Just if in one word, you're capable of accomplishing the things that you need to get done, the things you want to get done, and being able to do that, like Indy said, kind of on your own. Not necessarily that you have to be alone and have to do things like your way or anything like that, but you're able to do that and function, in that capacity.
So basically, maybe we're showing our age here with this, but we're like the Power Rangers, and we just formed like the Megazord with our own individual suggestions.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that's how it would end up.
That we would just we would all give our we would end up as a Megazord. Essentially,
Megazord
is a Megazord. Yeah.
Megazord.
My bad.
Idiot.
My bad. Sorry. All right. Well,
Yikes.
Sorry, it's been a long time since I was watching Power Rangers.
Because you're old.
I honestly...
Maybe you're mature.
Yeah. Or losing memory.
That's how you know you're getting old. You're losing your memory.
I throw a staff into the ground and scream, "Make my monsters grow," at least once or twice a week, so it's pretty fresh.
I've said that within the last month.
That's weird.
I do that with patience.
Yeah. So another question we have here is, do you think men mature slower than women, and why? And I feel like this is like proven, isn't it? Isn't it?
I think it's like scientifically proven that men mature slower than women.
Yeah, just
do.
like
they
their
reach
brains,
like their final mental maturity point a lot later than women do.
Yeah. Wait, how long is a lot late? I think ours is 25. I'm pretty sure, something like that. So are they like
that
18?
Seems early as hell.
Are they 21? I thought it was like 25.
Something that I was reading was saying that there's like an 11-year gap between men and women with maturity.
Oh, well then
everybody's
maybe
gonna be different.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
I think that might be a tough one because I think I've seen articles of up to 40 plus.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I don't know that there even could be a super definite age. I think that they could say like
Yeah.
general, but like everyone is so different, and a lot of those things are gonna depend. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about just physical, your brain developing things like that, that's one thing. But like the scenario you grew up with and the scenarios you've dealt with, the experience you've gained over the years, like it's gonna have a huge play in how quickly you kind of mature.
Yeah, this article from or on telegraph.co.uk says men grew up at 43, 11 years later than women. If we don't grow up till 43, not one of us has grown
Oh,
up yet.
absolutely not, bro. I know. I feel I'm not in my final form.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, like I said, being 40 and
You got
the
3
oldest
years,
person
bud.
here, it's still taking me a while. I can tell you that.
You
Every
don't
time
feel
we
like
go
you're
to a
there yet?
no, not that toys make you a less mature person, but every time we go to a store, I have to go to the toy aisle. That's just me. I don't know.
I can't tell
man.
you how bad I want to buy the biggest Nerf gun every time I go to Target.
Well, we're very different in that. I don't want to go to the toy section or buy Nerf guns.
Well, you don't like to
I don't
spend
know.
money.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. A Nerf gun isn't at the top
Trust
of
me.
my list.
I talk myself out of it, so I guess that's the mature part.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
but
making
I
good
don't own any Nerf
decisions.
guns.
But I definitely have to look and see. This is the good part about having a child. I have a reason to buy toys, and I will be a mature person for buying my child toys.
People are like, why are you in the toy section? I have a child on the
I
way.
have a son.
It's research.
Sir,
Does
he's
your
3 days
newborn
old.
need a Gatling gun?
Yes. Teach him young. America.
So one
Yeah, I
thing,
can't say though, with maturity in men versus women, is definitely in the past. I think caused some divisiveness with relationships that I've had in the past.
Oh yeah, for
They were definitely on a different level, a different playing field mentally than I was, and yeah, I think that was probably the downfall for all my past relationships.
I mean, even now, my wife has a much better idea of how she wants her life to end up than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like all it takes is me looking at how we handle finances in my house. I am very, very YOLO. I'm like, we should just go get Thai food all the time. Let's just go get Thai food. Let's buy something on the way there. You want that thing? Buy the thing. Treat yourself. My wife's like, we need to have a savings. We should put it in savings. I'm like, we have a savings. Why does it need to be bigger? YOLO. So, I mean, that, even at this point, it's still there.
I can tell you that my father, my mother says I'm definitely my father's son, and because my wife had the same conversation with my mom, that I can be happy with $1 in my pocket and I'm good. I don't care as long as I got what I got $1 in my pocket. I'm all smiles. My dad's the same way. So with the way we do finances in our household, we have a little personal allowance. Everything else goes into a joint savings. You spend what you want to spend. That's on you, but that's all you get until
Yeah.
next pay period.
You mean
So,
Mr.
that's
Corvette likes to spend money?
yeah. And hey, the day we get it, the day it's gone, and we're broken for 2 weeks, and we're just happy, man. That's it.
I want to hang out with your dad.
That's a very structured way to do it, though. Like there's maturity in that. That you give yourself your
Yeah.
allowance, and you're like,
Yes.
this is it. And if I blow it the first day, well, I gotta wait till the next go around.
That's it.
Wow, I should do that. That's a good idea. See, I'm learning from more mature people like you.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Hey.
I just
Who
hold
would've
on to
thought?
all my money. I don't have anybody to like balance me out. There's nobody that's like, we need to save money. I'm just like, how much is that? No. I always convince myself that things aren't worth the money that they are. Just like to me, I'll just be like, what is the value of this thing to me? And then I go, nope, don't need it. And then I just don't get it.
Well,
So,
see, that's
Fair.
rational thinking. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm also a really bad influence, so even though my wife is good with the money and is very worried about that, I'll be in her ear whenever she does want something, and I'll be like, "Get it, buy the thing." Like she wanted to treat herself to a really nice watch. Me and my wife are both into watches, for a kind of celebration of her what she's accomplished in college and university and all that sort of thing. And she was like, "I just don't know if I can spend." I think it was $1,500. And I was like, do it. I would have spent 7,000 on a watch. I'm not going to, but like, do it. And she kind of went back and forth. And if you could see the video, I'm actually wearing it right now. We made it happen, boys.
So she bought a $1,500 watch and you're wearing it.
Oh yeah, she doesn't need to wear it right now. I'm filming a podcast. I always put on a watch when we're doing the podcast. You got to dress up for the occasion, bro.
It just really, now it makes sense why you're like, do it. Buy the watch. Go ahead. And then you're sitting there wearing the watch.
For me.
I mean, it's small for me. I mean, for
I
modern standards.
Figured you were like pushing her to do things like this because you do it so frequently that it makes you look like less bad. Because you're like, well, you got
I've
that
accepted
watch.
No, I would never ever do that. Like, no, I accept when I do silly stuff, and I would never, try to make someone else feel bad for being as reckless as I am.
Yeah. No, I hold on to mine, and $1,500 on a watch blows my mind, but it's your money, not mine. So we hope you guys enjoy that watch. I'm
nice,
not
man.
into it. I believe
For anyone
it.
wondering, it's a Nomos.
Mm.
Maybe there's a watch nerd out there.
No more money in your bank account. because of that.
Wow.
All right, so this is an interesting one here. Somebody shared in our little document that a study exposed men's top 30 maturity failings as experienced by women. So I'm assuming, I haven't looked at it fully, that this is just a list of 10 things that women have complained about when it comes to men. And I'm just
exactly
gonna run through the first 4 in this list, and then maybe somebody else wants to take 5 through 10. I'll do 1 through 5.
Just reading it is making me laugh.
All right,
I actually saw this one before, and it pisses me off.
I'll do 1 through 5, and then somebody just chime in with the rest of them. So number 1, finding their own passing of gas or burps amusing. And on each of
As we
these,
laugh.
on each of these, I kind of want to know what we're thinking, because I don't do that. I feel like there have been times like I have where, like, I don't know, for some reason I mess with mom a lot with this. Like if I'm like walking in front of mom and she's like poking at me, I'm gonna fart, and we like laugh about it. She's like, don't poot, and like we do this whole thing, but I don't do it just like on the regular. Like I'm not just sitting here like, oh guys, I'm about to rip a fart. So let's go around because I know somebody who does.
Yeah, I wish I could say, like, I don't think Chris has ever farted, which is weird.
Okay.
Like never, as you know, a
Really?
friend,
Yeah.
like all of our friends, like have never really passed gas. We've all passed gas around each other, but Chris just never has. But no, I mean, me and my wife's relationships got to a point where it just kind of, our bodies just do their thing, and we don't.
But you find it amusing. That's
Oh,
the
me?
thing.
Like, no, I'll laugh sometimes. Not all the time, but I'll definitely laugh sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
like you get used to it, and then sometimes there's just that one special moment. You know what I mean? And there's that one that's just like, that one was funny. All right, that was funny.
I think where it's funny is the ones that you do, and then people start to smell it, and you start to laugh because you're like, "Yo, that's so bad," and then everybody's just like, "Oh no,
I'm
that can
sorry,
be
Sean.
funny."
Shout
Yeah.
out to Roland.
Shout out to Roland. That man's farts were something fierce, man. He could drive you out of a room. Chris, do you
Yeah.
find it amusing?
I mean, not particularly. When I fart or I burp, I don't do it for the laughs.
Oh, whatever, bro.
Wow.
You with the
I
shock
take back
people.
everything
This
I said.
podcast is called Be Honest Man.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't do it for the laughs. I can't help that I have a thunderous
What is it?
Butthole.
Flatulence.
Yeah,
Thunderous
flatulence. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry. This might be too much for the people at home, but when Chris rips one, it is
It
thunderous.
comes through the mic.
Yeah, it's wild. Hopefully, he'll never do it on the podcast.
Well, it's not gonna happen. It's, ever since Discord added like its own noise suppression, it doesn't pick it up anymore. I have to go in and turn it off if I want someone to hear it.
He's got a hotkey for it.
Yeah, so I've done it before. I don't hotkey it. I feel it. I'm like, I tighten up real quick, click, and then I let it go, and I click it back on.
All right,
Very
Indy,
mature.
here we go.
So yeah, I think we've all proven we're very immature with number 1. But yes, I also am guilty of this. Burps more so than anything else, but
Really?
yes. Yes.
I don't know, burps just aren't as funny to me.
No.
Not that I laugh a lot at any of like either one, but burps to me are almost more annoying than anything else. We'll be sitting in Discord and people just start ripping burps, and it literally just, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me, because it's just, to me it's just disrespectful to me. Like, mute your
Ugh.
mic. Why are you ripping burps into my
Maybe
ear?
burps are the more mature thing. Like Indy being the more mature among us. Like he's ascended past farts.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly. No.
Say
We're
that.
not- we're not gonna-
Don't tell me. Farts are still funny. I
Yes.
still love a good funny
It's-
fart. But
like I
I've
said,
learned to
still be
appreciate
honest, man.
burps.
Podcast, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to number 2. And I don't agree with this one. I don't think this is a maturity thing. Eating fast food at 2 a.m. If you're hungry, you're hungry. If you're up late, if you haven't eaten, why is this a maturity thing? I don't agree with this one. Women complain that men eat at 2 a.m. I know a lot of women who eat late.
I
Like
mean, what if I
eating
am?
fast food at 2 a.m. Like
Like,
2
what if
a.m.
you work,
hits,
like-
and you're like, maybe I want. Well, all right. So like night shift, yeah, that's the first thing that popped in my head. I feel
Yeah.
like that it doesn't apply, but it's a very broad blanket list of stuff.
Yeah. I'm not with
I
that
don't
one.
know. I
You
don't
guys-
eat fast food or really stay up to 2 a.m. very often unless I'm at work. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so that-
Even if I am staying up that late, I stop eating at like 10 or 11 for my my health.
Yeah. I'm not also not understanding that one too much, but if you
Yeah.
got a late night guy that wants some Wendy's, I mean, maybe.
Yeah. I
Women
just
consider him
don't know.
immature.
Yeah, I don't know how that's a maturity thing. That one's odd to me. The next one is playing video games, which, I mean, what the heck? All right.
Yeah.
Who plays video games?
All of us, all
Yes.
4 of us consistently. But does that make us less mature? I don't think so. I think it can bring out some immature things of us, but I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
the act itself is immature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't like to see it as like a way for us to relieve our stress or just relax, and we're just using it just to fuck off and
Yeah, be kids.
blow some time. Yeah.
I could see that, but no. I mean, it's one of those things like with a lot of these things, it comes down to your discipline. Like if you, like you said, enjoy it as a stress relief and do, whatever, that's very different, at least in my perspective. I would assume a lot of women's perspective than like 16 hours a day.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
So I think, along with the discipline part of that when you choose to play your video games.
Yeah.
So if you're, hey, let's go out tonight and me and you go see a movie, and you're like, nah, I want to play my video games. Or your wife's like, hey, let's spend some time together. Or your girlfriend, hey, let's spend some time together. You're like, I'm doing this game right now. I got to go play this game.
Or you have
I'll-
responsibilities. Like you're supposed to, mow the lawn, do the dishes, whatever it might be. And you're like, after this game. And then like it's 7 games later and you're still going. Then
he's like, hey, we're getting ready to leave. And you're like, ooh, where are we dropping, boys?
Like it became a joke in our household with me. I like to play Uncharted online. I've been playing that game since day one, and I will play it till they cut the servers. But my thing when we first in our early relationship, and even probably still today, she'll probably caught me on that. But one last match, or let me finish this match. Let me finish this match, and that's
Mhm.
it became like a joke in our household. So.
Yeah,
It's
especially
always the
since
same as
she
kids.
knows those matches don't last 2 hours.
No, yeah, it's 15 minutes, 15 and 20-minute match, but
It used to be
He's
all the
like,
time
no,
as
I'm
a
in the
kid.
same one.
All the time as a kid. Mom be like, get off the computer, go to bed, or turn on the Xbox One. It's the last game. Pause it. You
That's
can't
one.
pause it.
it's
And
online.
pause an online game, mom.
Yeah. So I think that one, I think we all agree that by itself, like playing video games isn't the problem, but the way you act during playing games can be a problem. The time that you play games can be a problem. Prioritization can be a problem with maturity. So
Oh yeah.
number 4, driving too fast. I don't do that.
I do sometimes.
I'm
I like
guilty.
go fast. Yeah.
I'm guilty.
Chris
I'm
is
more
guilty.
of the accelerate quickly. I'm not like going like, I'm not going 20 over or something like that. But like when I'm coming off the line, especially if I'm like the motorcycle or something, I mean, it's full throttle. Like I just like the sound of it and the feel of it and all that kind of thing. So I guess I can kind of get that.
Yeah.
I'm a car guy. I'm a Honda guy, and I have a car that I've hooked up, I've modded, spent lots of money on, lots of years on, lots of blood, sweat, and tears on.
Want to go fast?
And it's it, man. I want to feel that. I want to feel that speed that I've worked on.
Feel the G's.
That's it. I got the need for speed. I don't do it when around other people. So I guess this is the maturity part. I don't do it when I'm around other people, and I don't do it when I have passengers. I'm not trying to put anybody else at risk for my stupid behavior. So that's, I guess, my separation of that. I don't do it in
Yeah.
traffic, and I think it's ridiculous people do it in traffic where you're blowing by people in and out of traffic.
Yeah.
My wife and I had a car accident coming back from a trip, and somebody was dodging through traffic, racing with another car, did the pit maneuver on us, and sent us into a guardrail, and a third car came up and hit us. 3 total vehicles out of that accident because somebody was hot dogging through traffic, being an idiot. So I don't agree with that, and I do think it's immature. Um, but again, I think it's one of those time and place type of things.
Well,
So-
I don't know. To me, it's like time and place is a private track with safety
True.
measures. Like that's in my head.
Very
Outside
true.
of a private track with safety measures, I'm like, no, you need to quit. And I want to hear Chris's thoughts because that man is why I am scared every time Chris is the driver. Every time I'm literally like my foot's hitting the brake. I'm like, come on, man, stop.
It's not that bad.
It's bad.
It's not that bad.
We were all shaking in the car when we were driving back from Canada, and you were taking those banking turns on some highway roads up in the mountains.
No,
This
y'all
man-
are shaking because the
This
road
man
was
was-
bumpy.
This
was
man was
cold.
rolling this SUV.
It was cold, bumpy roads. It was windy, so the car was shaking. It wasn't me. I
It's
am an
not good.
efficient driver.
He's a bad
I
driver.
get us A to B.
Do you remember this is the Be Honest Man podcast? So driving too fast, is that something you enjoy? Or do you even think you do it?
I don't drive that fast. I mean, what's your definition of too fast?
I guess
More than-
fast for your context, right? If you're riding the bumper in front of you, like heavy, or if you fly up on a car before you brake or something like that, like distance wise, like you zoom up to the context of the road around you, you're going fast or you're pushing the limits, is how I feel. Like you're not necessarily the dude who's like flying 100 down, zooming in between cars, but you will definitely be flying between cars and then like riding the bumper in front of you, hitting the brakes at the last second. It's traumatizing.
It ain't that bad.
Not a single person that has ever driven you agrees with you. Like you have to accept this. Like everybody says this.
How does
Nah.
Mika feel about your driving?
She thinks it's scary.
Yeah, she's a lot worse now than when we lived in Virginia.
Uh-oh.
Like she's a worse driver, or she's worse about your driving.
She's a much angrier, more aggressive driver now.
You're turning her. Because
No.
I remember when I came to visit, she brought up
Louisiana
how
is
bad your
turning.
driving was. She brought up how bad your driving was when I was there in Richmond before you moved. I remember.
Yeah, Louisiana is turning her.
Oh, well, okay. The fifth thing here is finding rude words amusing.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. You find
Yeah,
like
it's usually a thing with me and Roland.
find like silly things amusing. What about, I mean, rude though?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I don't really use any kind of foul language. Not to say that I ever haven't or probably won't in the future. I go out of my way to avoid using rude words or foul language or anything like that. So
Yeah, I mean, like
yeah.
the worst stuff I do is like, you know, in a match, in a game or something, I'll like call the enemy team bots, say they're trash cans, but like that's it. You know, it's only in the game. I'm not going out and saying stuff to people, and I don't find it amusing per se. It's just they're bad.
Well,
You know.
So I understand if so I guess I want to understand, like when you say rude words, you talking being mean to people or just words that are
I
kind
wonder
of...
if what if we're all wrong and they forgot to see, and it's crude words. You know, like wouldn't that?
I think it's the same
makes more
thing. I think you're
sense.
literally just talking about like, you know, saying curse words or like inappropriate things.
yeah, I would say inappropriate.
Yeah,
language.
inappropriate stuff, like people saying silly or ridiculous or inappropriate. That, yeah, but I guess I was taking it literal of like rude, and I was like,
I think this
What?
is once again a very broad blanket option on this list. Like if
Yeah.
someone walks up to me and says "fuck," I'm not gonna laugh at it.
I might.
You might.
I guess it's the tone. If someone walks up, looks me directly in the eyes, just screams "fuck" in my face, I might laugh a little bit, but
We all have a smile on our face right now for those who are listening.
it's
as
not
he said that.
because he said "fuck." It's the way he said "fuck." Same thing can
Okay.
happen if someone walks up to me and screams pudding in my face.
Pudding
All
can
right.
be rude.
The number 6 is driving with loud music, and I am absolutely, unequivocally guilty of this. I will listen to loud music to the point where my ears hurt. I have
That's a
always,
problem.
always been that way.
I also
Yeah.
drive with very loud music. I like to scream and sing along with it.
I think that's all fine. I don't think that's a maturity thing until you do it into a neighborhood or up to an apartment complex or up to. I'm the person that when somebody pulls up and it's 1 a.m. and they're just, I just want to go down and slap them and be like, do you not think about anybody else? Anybody else? Like you are only thinking of when I pull into the parking lot, unless it's just one of those moves and you're just like, yo, everybody needs to know I'm freaking rocking out my car. I turn it down. You just turn it down. Don't bother other people. Like if you're on the interstate, if you're on a busy road, and there's no, residents nearby, go for it. But don't it's the considering others that I'm just like, that stuff irritates me when people do that. Go same thing with the driving fast, right? Do it by yourself if you're gonna do it. Still don't want you to, but not in neighborhoods, not in apartment complexes.
Yeah,
time
that's
and
fair.
place is definitely another thing, and I guess that's where another. Again, I guess with all of this stuff is knowing
There's a
when and
maturity
when
line.
not.
Yeah, there's a
The
maturity
maturity
line.
comes in and it's like, when should I do this and not?
Yes.
Yeah.
So practical jokes is number 7. Playing practical jokes.
Oh, bro. I am absolutely. I mean, I work in the fire service, and quickly, I want to tell you just give you an example of how this stuff works. So back when I worked for Columbia, we there was something they used to do to the new guys called being tacoed, where they would take all the slats from under your bed, and when you went to go lay in your bed, it would fold you up like a taco. They would tell people, oh, it's a storm watch, you have to sleep under the bed or something like that, just something wild, and they're rookies, so they just do it. But we had a guy now where I work now who was very superstitious, and he had gone out on a call, and while he was gone, we put a Ouija board and a bunch of candles and cobwebs in his bunk, and he walks in. And you hear him walk to the bathroom, then he stops and he walks back and he says, "Oh, hell no." And he thought I did it. Now, I helped, don't get me wrong, but it was Brittany's idea. Brittany's the one who mainly did it. So I go to wash some dishes later on in the shift, and he's taped the water sprayer. So he gets me with that. So when you tape a water sprayer, when you turn on the faucet, it automatically starts spraying you. He starts laughing, and I was like, "Bro, I didn't do that." He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So then he helps me prank Brittany we took Mr. Dude, who's this full size. If you ever watched a video, there's a skeleton in the background every time he's doing something different or a different pose. But I took that skeleton. She had already made her bed. I tucked it in and then turned out the lights. So when she went to go lay down in her bed, she screamed bloody murder. And that is an example of just one shift in the fire station.
Your tax
practical
dollars.
jokes. Yeah.
Your tax dollars.
You gotta do
at
something
work.
to deal with the stress, okay? Bud? You don't sleep a whole lot. You're just running on practical jokes and crude language. That's it.
For
And,
this one, I don't think it's an immaturity thing. I think we just know how to have a good time. That's it. We just know how to have a good time.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about, not doing it to people that aren't expecting something, or someone that you aren't and they aren't comfortable with something like that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Knowing boundaries.
I like jump scaring people, especially my wife. She absolutely hates it more than anything in the world. So I have to not do that because I'm a mature person. So I don't jump scare my wife every day.
All right.
Yeah.
So number 8, trying to beat children at games and sports.
Steven, how do you feel about this
Absolutely.
one?
Sign of immaturity in a man.
What was that, Chris?
Steven, how do you feel about this one?
I don't lose to anybody for free. For free? No, I don't care. I'll go on dates. You're not winning. I mean, if you beat me, you beat me. It will never be I gave it to you. I don't care if you're a child. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if you're 99. I don't care if you're 4. You will have to earn that victory. We ain't handing out trophies to everybody over here, all right? If you beat me, you win. I went out. I've gone out on dates, and I have been outright just smacked in like air hockey. Cool. I've also beat people in bowling, and I've done that. I don't know. I'm competitive, but at the same time, Earn your victories. I don't
Depends
know.
on what it is, I guess. Like certain things,
Like wrestling.
we'll say most things. Like I'm not giving you, I'm not giving you the dub. I remember a coworker's kid wanted to play Mario Kart, and I left that boy lapped like 7 or 8 races in a row till he was crying. I don't lose in Mario Kart, bro. Like this is not gonna happen. You want to pick a game you want to play that I don't care about? Sure. Don't pick something I want to play.
So I guess I guess it's a man thing. But we were watching a show earlier with my wife while we were eating dinner, and there's 2 guys were hanging out, and they had children that were around the same age, so they're out playing basketball. These men were alley-ooping and dunking on these kids who are like 7.
Absolutely.
It was ridiculous. Wifey's like, why are they doing this? I said, look, a man's got to do it while he still can, because soon the roles will be reversed, and he's
teaching them something.
He's gonna do it.
You
That's
know that
true.
you gotta work your way up. You gotta go through the steps. You gotta work hard and improve. These are all good lessons. If you let them win, their head's gonna get too big.
It's like
You know?
arm wrestling your dad. You know what I mean?
They have dad strength. Like you
That's
you
it.
can't beat them. Like
Yeah.
it was
Until
crazy.
you get to a certain point.
Yeah, and then finally you hand over the crown sort of thing. But no, I don't.
And that's
I
how
don't
you
believe in that.
define a mature man.
Yeah, I
If you
remember
could arm wrestle and beat your dad, then
I was
you're mature.
coaching like U12, I think, or U14 soccer when I was like, I don't know, 20, 22, something like that. When we do practice where I would play with them, like little scrims or something like that. Oh, I'm not playing around. No, I'm megging you. I'm twirling around. You come up to like kind of try to be aggressive. You're just gonna bounce off me, bro. Like I don't care. We're not being soft out here. No. And they're better for it. That's the way I see it.
And
about
I will
you,
remind
Chris?
you, we are all under the age of 43, so we are still immature.
Yeah. No,
We're
we haven't
allowed-
reached our
it's
cap. We're allowed.
scientifically
We're
We can
allowed
still
to
do
do
this for a
this.
few more years.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I don't let anyone win at anything. I don't
Okay.
care what the game is or what the situation is.
Yeah.
If you want to win, you gotta beat me.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Mika can beat me in the basketball game at the arcades,
Oh, I
but
know.
she can't beat me at anything else.
Well, that's probably extreme.
Game wise,
I was like, geez, dude.
game wise. One of our first dates, she wanted to shoot some pool at a bar. So I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And I smashed her, and then we didn't play again for another year and a half.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do. You know, you can't show weakness.
Yeah.
Not early on. I've actually heard, people tie in like that. The over like if a man's competitive about stuff, that it's like toxic masculinity and like women shouldn't like it. But I don't know. I've just seen it again. That's probably like certain women, and I don't want to generalize, but I have seen it pointed out. People are like, oh, if he's competitive about even the little things, then like that's not a good sign. It's like, what's a little thing, right? Like it's a competition. We're at the arcade. That's not little. We chose to come here, spend our
Arcades are big.
hard-earned dollar.
It's a big deal.
Ever
Yeah.
been to Dave and Buster's?
You know what you're getting into.
It's a large thing. That's what I'm saying. You want to play air hockey? Okay. Life on the line right here.
That was actually the first date with my wife, was at Dave and Buster's.
Nice.
Oh,
Did you beat her and everything?
Except for basketball.
Oh yeah.
He's
She's
been
fierce.
practicing.
Yeah, she's fierce at that.
Number 9. Staying silent during an argument. I've been guilty about this in the past, and if I'm in a bad mood, I will absolutely be guilty of this right now. But I've gotten a lot better about talking about my feelings, but it is definitely the real deal. It is a real thing. And I can understand this point coming up.
I also am guilty of this. Not so much because I don't have anything to say, because I like to form my thoughts in my head before I say anything. So it just comes out, it looks like I don't care or I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
But you're just lagging.
Yeah, my brain's just lagging. I'm just trying to get everything together. I'm trying to absorb everything that's being said to me so that I can reply.
I do it sometimes. I guess my main thing with arguments in like a relationship setting, outside of it, I'm not silent.
God, no.
No, I will argue somebody to the end of time because I have a talent and I like to use
It
it.
won't ever stop.
Yeah. So, I mean, if
Totally
you're
kill
good
you
at
the first
something,
night.
pursue it. Like You killed me the first night werewolf because I'm so freaking goated. Okay, that's why. Because
No,
Chris,
because we always play with people with weak minds.
Chris gets so upset every time because they won't kill me. I convince them not to, and he's like, "Stop!" And then he knows I'm gonna gloat. So that's it. Moving on.
Wait, so
No,
Oh, go
I
ahead,
mean
go ahead.
in this conversation because I was interrupted. So when it comes to this in open settings and stuff, like if I'm arguing with Sean or something, yeah, I'm gonna keep going until he quits. But when it comes to like a relationship or something like that, I am very conservative with it, but I'm not silent. I'm just like flat. I get called a robot sometimes when it comes to it because I will just respond in like super non-emotional ways at that point because I don't want to give any sort of leverage almost, you know? Don't want to get too angry. They know I'm angry. They can use it. Don't want to get too sad. They can use it. So I just like flat and just like, I'm disappointed. You know, just like that's
You're
it.
also trying to win the argument.
Yes. Yes.
gotta win, man.
I don't give up. Yeah, I can't give up any ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny. I'm the same, Steven, with arguments and with talking. My wife she was like, when we brought up the idea of this podcast, she was like, "Oh yeah, this is for you because you like to talk and you have opinions on everything, and I don't want to hear it. So go talk to your friends.
Oh,
and that way
wow.
you can get it out there."
Well, we
the
want to
thing is
hear
that-
it.
Well, the thing is, like yourself, I don't let things go. So if I have a point to make, I'm gonna keep going. And my wife's like, "All right, look, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to talk about it anymore." And it's not usually about anything that we're having a serious debate about. It's usually about something arbitrary, like why something is better than something else, or why I think this is that. And she's like, "Look, I don't have a dog in this fight. Why are you still talking about
care
it?"
enough.
But
Yeah.
when it comes to arguments, I'm definitely the person who keeps going or keep talking because I want resolution. I don't like this. I don't like the silence. So
Yeah.
I want to get things figured out, get to a point where we're all happy, and then we can go.
I'm with that. If it's serious stuff, I am like a lot of the time. The goal is that I just want to find the end, you know, which some way I want the resolution. So I keep pushing it because I'm like, no, I don't want to drop this. I don't want to go in circles. I want to get to the end point so we can figure this out and go on. Yeah,
right.
that's where I'm at with that one. I agree with you.
And number 10, not being able to cook simple meals. So I used to live with Steven. We lived together for a few years. And
The best.
I don't believe we cooked more than, a handful of times over the 3-year period. We ordered DoorDash and Grubhub every day.
Yep. Unless
But within
Daddy
these
Roland
last-
got a cooked food every once in a while.
Yeah, actually, the last meal I remember eating, as roommates, was the first time he cooked for us. The first time we moved into the first house together. That first night, he made us all dinner, and we never did that again.
Yeah. I mean, he
But-
did cook sometimes and would be like, yo, you can have some of this or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, over the last few years, I've put a lot more effort into learning how to cook. So I'm a lot happier that I can do that now.
There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
don't do a lot of it. I don't. I mean, if I'm making something, so it says cook simple meals. So, I mean, if that includes like spaghetti, I'll do that. But not like with, beef and all that. That's too complicated. Like, so I just do like chicken.
Beef is
like,
easier than the
I
spaghetti.
no, stop it. I just do
Off the
like
noodles.
pre-cooked. No, I do pre-cooked chicken that I can cut out, or open the bag, put it into the bowl, throw it in the microwave for a minute and a half, heat up the chicken while the noodles are boiling, and then do that, put some sauce on it, and we're good to go. Other than that, it's a lot of prepackaged meals. Yeah, I don't do a lot of, I don't have to chop stuff up, mix stuff up, season a bunch of stuff. No,
What
because
about-
it's just me.
what
Why
about-
do I have to?
Well, following different recipes. So when I was living by myself, I used to eat out a lot, but then I quickly stopped that because finances. I couldn't
Yeah.
afford it.
Yeah.
So living by yourself is expensive, and I had a bunch of other bills to pay. So it was cook something that I could eat on for the rest of the week. So I kind of got into that habit of doing that.
The last time that I was preparing food for just myself was a long time ago, and I was just doing odd jobs for money. So it was essentially those like the cheapest spaghetti sauce you can get. Didn't even come in a jar. It came in like an aluminum can, and like 59-cent pasta, and I'd eat that every single day. But since then, I actually cook. I'm a good cook, and I don't. My wife cooks more often than I do. There's a couple things that we cook together. I've got a few select ones that she's a big fan of that I, we'll cook maybe once or twice a week, something like that. But I enjoy cooking. I don't feel like this one applies to me. I've matured to the point, where I'm
Look at
past
you.
this.
Look at you.
Yeah, cooking is
Finally,
fun. I've learned
1
that
out of
cooking
10.
is fun.
1 out of 10, I'm good.
I don't do it. Not really. I mean, that's about as complicated as the stuff I do. It's like,
I mean, like you said, you don't
Spaghetti.
really have a
Oh, what
big
about
reason
eggs?
to.
I do eggs with cheese.
Hey, that's
Can you,
That's
can
multiple
you fry an
parts.
egg?
Hold on, let's start with small things here, all right? So that's a multi-part thing, though. I got to get out the eggs. I got to get out a bowl. I got to spray the pan or whatever. I have to do all that. So then I got to turn it on, put the thing there. I got to crack the eggs, put them in the bowl, put the salt in there, stir it up, get the cheese out so it's ready to go. Put the eggs in the thing. They start to do the, you got to scramble them. Then you got to start dribbling the cheese on it. It's come on now, give me give me
Hey,
something
you got
here.
a multi-dish meal there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I got to whip out multiple pieces to get this done with. And the eggs are bomb, dude. I love eggs.
Same.
Yeah.
Can't stand it.
I give you no credit.
Give me no crap. I can't get credit for
0
anything.
points.
For eggs or spaghetti?
Maybe
Yeah,
if you did
there's
more
some-
than just boil noodle.
I put salt in the water. I learned that after the first 1 or 2 times I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm making progress, y'all. Watch
Hey,
out.
you're maturing. You're maturing.
I'm maturing to the point where I'll do the basic stuff, but I don't want to do much more than that. So, okay. We touched on all of those. Do we want to get into mental aspects now, or do we have anything else left when it comes to maturing? And some of this is still going to tie into it, so I guess we can just keep moving forward.
Yeah, let's just keep it moving.
Do men have a hard time with the thought of aging? So I guess, do any of you have a hard time with the thought of aging, since this is more about us,
I've kind of got some problem kind of like that, I guess, where I'm not necessarily afraid of aging, but I get really upset's not the word, but I get kind of we're just gonna use upset about having passed, having gotten older, and feel like I haven't fulfilled everything I felt like I wanted to. So I guess that kind of feeds into this fear of like, or it kind of feeds this drive to accomplish things because I know that I'm getting older, especially like when you're in your 20s, obviously you're still aging, but you don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into like your mid 30s and you're like, no, I feel like it now. Like it still has the same rate as it's always been. I'm definitely much more cognizant of it. So I guess a little bit.
I honestly don't think about it very much. I'm not scared or upset or dreading getting older. It's just it's part of life. It's gonna happen regardless of how I feel about it.
I think about it. So I don't have the thing like Sean. Like, I don't think about like, oh no, I'm 31 now and all these things I didn't do or I should have done or all that sort of jazz. There might be regret in there. There's definitely some things, but I guess I don't think about it all the time when it comes to just getting older. And when it comes, I don't know. I think because it hasn't hit me yet, I have aged decently well, and I know that, right? Like I don't feel 31. I feel like I did when I was 25, other than my shoulder. Like my shoulder's definitely, the shoulder's 60 and the rest of me is 25. Like that's the way that I feel. So I don't think about it. And it will kick in. And sometimes I think about like, dude, I'm 31. I would be 40 in 9 years. 40. But it passes and then I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm still, I guess I'm more thinking about my life in the moment and not thinking about, somebody asked me recently, like, oh, what's your 5-year plan? And I'm like, figure out a 5-year plan. Like, I don't, I don't know. I guess I'm not that crazy. What's my life going to be like in 10 years sort of thing. I'm just trying to make my life right now, pretty solid. So I don't think about I don't have a hard time with the thought of aging. I know at some point it'll kick in. I think at very small periods of time I go, dude, one day I'm not gonna be able to lift this. Like one day I'm not gonna be able to do this, and then I think, or I will be able to, because there are some people out there who are 70 and 80 who kept, good genetics, took care of themselves, and they're still doing some pretty nice stuff. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't really think about aging too much. At least I didn't, I guess I could say. It's slowly creeping up on me as I now am 40. I never, after I was 25, I honestly didn't know what age I was until I had to do the math in my head. I just stopped caring. Now I got to the point where I am 40 and I'm like, holy crap, this is 40. I didn't think I would be here. And when you're older, 40 is old, or when you're younger, 40 is old. And now I'm here and I don't feel old. But there are definitely changes going on, and but I don't fear them, and I don't really think I'll have a hard time with aging. I'm ready for it, and yeah, it is what it is.
And there are nights where I'm laying in bed and I start thinking about it, like the idea of like not waking up one day.
Jesus. So you get
Right,
older, dude,
just
you're
like
not
just like the
dead.
thought of death being
Yeah.
like if I were to die of old age, that the idea of it being closer than it used to be.
Yeah. That's fair. I guess I don't know. I don't think about it in that regard. I think about living as an old person, not like dying as an old person. That's what I mostly think about, is all this stuff where it's, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? And, I'm enjoying this now, and I'm not going to be able to do it in, 50 years or something like that. Like those are the things I think about. I don't think about
You might be able to.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I went on 2 patients yesterday that were in their 90s. One of them was 97. She would still be able to carry on a conversation with me. I had a 94-year-old I picked up out of his garden. He has a decent sized backyard, and he had a whole plot of peas and a couple other things, and he's been out there all day picking them and stuff like that. He tripped over one of the vines, couldn't get back up. But as soon as I got him back up, he just went right back to doing what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that's the case. So in the same vein, I guess if you had to think about that sort of thing, what do you lose or fear losing as you get older?
2 things. Number 1, my mind.
That's a scary
Like,
one.
that's the one thing that I'm most scared of losing.
Yeah.
And I'm infinitely more terrified of being there in my right mind and people around me losing theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that scares me the most in this world. And I also am not really a big fan of the idea of not being able to see. But I think I'm getting closer to that one. I've always had bad eyes, so that one I feel like it's more of a guarantee.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say
I'm
for me, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm in the same boat. Obviously, I have this. I definitely dread the loss of like physical ability and stuff like that. Which, as I've even at the age I'm at now and dealing with different pains and stuff breaking and having to go to doctors and physical therapy and stuff like that, like it's starting to work its way in. I'm sure we'll get more into that in a little bit, but that, and then like he said, that losing the mind, man, it's to me, and it's because I worked with I've run a lot of dementia patients, like a lot. There's literally a retirement, like a nursing home behind my station that has a memory care ward, which essentially means it's everyone who has lost their mind to some capacity. And to me, it's less, I don't even see it as like losing your mind anymore. It's losing yourself. Like you slowly, more and more, just lose who you are. Some people will regress, where they'll be in their brain, they are just 40, 50 years in the past. They still have their kids around. They're still calling out neighbors that died stuff like that. Or they have no idea. They're just gone. There's no one inside. And it's just, it is terrifying. But hey, man, what happens happens. But I definitely get you on the seeing it happen to other people. That'd be
Mhm.
tough. I mean, as we get older, obviously our parents get older, grandparents, you know, and then as we get much older, our loved ones and stuff like that, you know, and that's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough on everybody, and you know, from experience, it is tough on everybody. No one has an easy time with it.
I
And
would definitely say similar. I think one of the things that is closest to me, the thing I think about the most is losing loved ones and me being alive through that. I mean, having lost somebody that was, you know, close to me and what that did to me. And now all I think is like, crap, I'm going to go through that again. And I'm going to go through it again and again and again. And on one hand, people are like, oh, like that would be being lucky because it means you're still around. But like it makes me question that, you know, like I'd rather be the first one to go out of all my like loved ones and stuff. Like genuinely, like I would rather not have to experience that ever again in any capacity. And you know, especially with people, you know, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, you know, stuff like that. Like that would just be crazy. And so that's I think for me the hardest part of aging is the people around me getting older as well. You know,
And then
people
like
who aren't aging as well or who are much older, you know, who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s and you're like, okay, you know, we're getting to the point where and I don't even know about losing so much as I'm going to have to watch their lives change. I'm going to have to watch them go from the person who's active and can handle themselves to not being able to. And that's just like it's a scary thought.
yeah, but it's
way
a
less
the
growing
about me.
scary part.
opportunity.
that's the scary part for me is the losing independence.
Mhm.
Not being able to do the things you used to do, relying on other people, and you know, with all the podcasts we've done so far, when you talk about masculinity, that is one of the key things. You know, we're a provider, we're the go-getter, we're the that kind of thing, and a lot of that ties into the masculinity. And when that's when you lose that independence or that ability to go out and do those things, I feel like I don't know, you may lose a little bit of that masculinity.
Well, then with that, I have a question then for Sean because you've dealt with a lot of you know elderly folks and stuff. Are the women easier in terms of they're willing to take help than the men, or would you say like most
Yeah.
people are kind of no?
Not speaking for dementia patients because they're a very varied bunch. But like the general live at home kind of old folks that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s. The men are definitely much more stubborn, less likely to call for help, less likely to seek help, even when it's extremely obvious they need it. To the point where, like, you are going to die. I'm not going to come in here and help you off the ground. I'm going to come in here and find you dead. And, like, I've told people that, you know, and not women, because the women never let it get to that point. Like, they will always be like, you know, they'll call for help. They'll, you know, and you do get some stubborn people. A lot of, and just that generation don't like to ask for help, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the men especially your 80 and 90-year-olds, can't do nothing for them, man. Like they will try for hours, sometimes days before calling you for help.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is there any percentage of dementia patients that are like self-aware, like
I have no
aware
idea.
that like their brains are deteriorating?
For me, at least my personal experience there, I've had a couple patients who know that their mind's going. They've mentioned it to me like in transport, but most of the ones I see are already like that are in facilities that I would deal with or like in home and stuff like that are already past that point of like, at least, I mean, I don't care. I don't ask them about it typically. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because most of your time with them is just answering the same question over and over and over again, or trying to keep them from trying to bite you. So,
Yeah. So moving into another question, what's one of the biggest things you realized as you got older?
I would say that don't be hard on yourself. Things happen, and we all keep moving. I know that's one of the things with maturity and getting older. And when you're younger, especially young adolescents, everything's a big deal. Everything's catastrophic. Everything's world ending.
Mm-hmm.
And as adults now, we look at kids and we're like, "That's not a big deal." Oh, they laughed at me on the bus, or the girl I liked is talking to somebody else, and that's the end of everything. And I can't go on anymore, and it's like bro, your problems haven't even started yet. Like you still got food on the table, you've got a roof over your head, somebody's buying your clothes, you're fine. Like so
This is
things,
about as good as it gets, brother.
yeah, you enjoy it, man. You don't have it bad yet.
No,
You
I
don't have
think
it bad yet.
that's kind of what I would say too. Two of the sayings that I say a lot is it is what it is, and shit happens. And both those things to me, the same thing. Like he said, it happened. We move on. We address it if we can. That's it. And he's right. When you're a kid, everything seems to be. I mean, I you know a lot because of my work. You know, I've gotten a lot of kids who have simple stuff, man, real simple stuff from like he said, you know, she said this and they said that, to something, you know, even slightly more serious, whatever, and they're ready to end it all, man. And it's just wild, you know. And we've all been there. We've seen our world crumble for, you know, the girl that we liked, you know, talking to another guy, you know. It just is what it is. But like it is kind of wild. And as you get older, I feel like I've definitely gotten to that point where it's like there's really nothing that's gonna break me. I'm just gonna kind of, yeah, am I gonna be upset? I could be. I could get sad about it. I mentioned on here before, I was trying to do the SWAT medic thing with my city. Something I really wanted to do. And I got an email saying that I did not attach one of the letters, letter recommendations from my battalion chief. So I was out of the process. I had that letter. I had it sitting right there. I just forgot to attach it. And so because of that one little mistake, this goal I've been working towards and that I've, you know, continued to train and work for several months is it's just gone. I have to wait until the next time they open the process, which there is no timeline. But yeah, I was sad about it for like a day. Then it's like, okay, it is what it is. I continue, you know, I move on. I either say, well, I'm not going to do that thing, or I continue to train so that when I do get to do it, I'm even better than I was this time. And that's kind of my philosophy on everything.
I think it's a really good example too, in the sense that it was something that you missed, and you know that it's something that you missed.
Oh yeah, full my mistake, 100%.
Yeah, I have a very similar mindset to Sean. I also use "it is what it is" a lot. My wife hates it.
Oh yeah,
But-
mine too.
Well, it depends on how you use it, right? Like, to me, it's more of a mantra than an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, if something's bad and you could say, oh, this thing's messed up, it is what it is. And that's kind of an excuse, like, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to try and do better. But to me, it's like, the issue is what it is. What can I do to make it better? If shit happens, what can I do to move from this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is something that is fixable, then yeah, I won't say it. But, you know, just in general, it is what it is. You know, just, you can't take yourself too seriously.
Absolutely.
You start finding your real priorities in life. And yeah, I think you start to realize that you have all these loved ones, you know, wife, husband, kids, parents, whatever. But sometimes you have to put yourself first and make sure you're okay before you pursue anything else in life.
Absolutely.
That's it, man. You got to put your oxygen mask on before you help others.
Yep.
So for me, it is that I'm not invincible, I think, is something. Because I definitely, with a lot of things in life, would just always be like, it'll happen eventually. Or that can't happen to me. Or that sort of thing. And the older I get and the more I see people dealing with things, getting illness, dealing, you know, with loss, it makes you go like, no, this stuff happens to me too. I'm not immune to this. My friends and my family are not immune to these things. I'm not in a perfect story where things happen to the perimeter, right? It's all like just outside where like, you know, a person who knows a person who something happened to. It's like, no, it'll happen to you and it'll happen to your friends and it'll happen to your loved ones, whatever it might be. Tough, you know, financial situation. So anything, you're not in your own perfect story, that you're not invincible. Like, things will happen in life to you is something that I have realized, and therefore it opens your eyes up to a lot of different things and how you carry forward in your life.
That's a good one. A lot of younger people
is.
think they're invincible and they,
Yeah.
you know, nothing can happen. And I definitely did that when I was younger. I have driven drunk before.
Well, speaking of that, So there was a study that was out there, and it was saying that 20-year-old males are 50% more likely to do something risky if two friends are watching them than if he's alone. And it says, as we mature, we realize poor decisions to impress our friends or others become less important, and we become less risky by weighing positive versus negative outcomes. So
I
I think
matured
all of us are
so
guilty.
young then.
Yeah.
I'm the least peer pressurable person, I swear. Like,
I don't know how
people-
much I've done that stuff, but I remember very clearly in my 20s, you know, there's a group of guys laying around, someone says no balls, someone's doing something stupid.
No. I'm a heavy weigher of risk and reward and stuff like that, which to a degree makes me exceptionally boring. I don't want to ride a motorcycle. I don't want to bungee jump. I don't want to jump out of a plane. I don't want to do nope, I'm good. People have tried to peer pressure me from middle school forward to just do random stuff. Oh, cuss, I'll give you $20. No. And I know that's not like an extreme thing. I just mean in general. Like, I shut down peer pressure. Like, I'm just not. People can watch me, and I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna do what I was gonna do, regardless of whether or not you're there. Like, not messing around with that. That is something that I have hung my hat on for a long time.
I was a risk taker all the way up until I don't know, probably my 30s. I didn't care what it was. I don't know, just out about having fun and doing stupid things. And even risk were not even having to be like physical, financial risk. Oh, I don't care. I'll get the money back. I can make it. I won't pay that. It'll be fine. I don't care if that goes to collections. It's cool. Like it just my maturity definitely. I can look back at my life and see where I matured and where I was not mature. And yeah, it was a lot of risk. A lot of risk.
So I wanted to go back to what Steven had said about realizing a lot of stuff and it helping him to kind of come back down from, peel back this feeling of it, being immortal. Do you feel like, with the stuff that you've dealt with in the past, loss and things like that, that you're better equipped to deal with that? Because I know you talked about fearing it, but also you've talked about growing and realizing the reality of it, that you are not immune to it, that it's not just outside of your circle. I mean, because everyone in your life's in fairly good health, but I'll just throw myself an example. I do a fairly dangerous job, and sometimes I do really stupid stuff. And this is a conversation I've had to, I have to have, we've had to have with my wife, who's also, very, kind of fearful of loss and things like that,
I don't think so. Going through it opened my eyes up to it, but I don't think it has prepared me in any way other than I know it's going to happen. Okay. Right? Like, that's it. Now I'm like, no, really. One day somebody's going to be gone and they will never come back. Like, that's that. And everything you didn't say and everything you didn't do and the choices you made happened. And that's that. So in that regard, yes. In any other regard, no. Okay. No. If you died, if mom died, it would not be any easier for me other than I would know that's it.
Yeah, I don't think you can really prepare for those types of things. It's always going to be rough. It's always going to be hard.
And I say it because I remember we had these conversations. We're probably getting a little off topic now, but we had conversations when it happened where you said, because you've experienced a lot of loss on your job and you see death, that you think you would be able to handle it better to a degree because of your job and knowing of death and knowing that things happen. I don't think you know until you experience it.
Oh, I think you're right. 100% right.
It's a completely different thing. Like I in my head knew like people die, life happens, like whatever. But then it happens to you and you're just like, no, I wasn't prepared. I don't know that it's final. That's it.
I didn't necessarily mean that you would be like, oh no, I'm mentally prepared. This doesn't affect me. Just, I mean exactly what you said, where you know what's going to happen. Like you're not being blindsided by it. You're not, whether you believe it or not, like, I think through the experience, you will handle it better than you would have otherwise. You know what? You get what I'm saying?
To a degree, maybe. You know.
That's all I was asking.
I know people who have lost multiple people, and they're like, it doesn't really get any easier. You might know the base. You just know your life will go on. Like you went through it once, and now you know your life will go on, but it's still gonna suck balls for as long as it's gonna suck balls, and that's that's the
Oh,
way
yeah.
it is. So what else do you feel like what's important has changed as you got older is another question we kind of presented for
Oh, for
ourselves.
sure. I think something that Chris talked about. It was Chris, yeah, you brought up. Look, putting your not necessarily putting yourself first, but putting your needs on a much higher pedestal than you did earlier in life. Like at least for me, like it was all. I was definitely one of those nice guys, people pleasers. Like I wanted, obviously my wife's needs to be met. Everyone else around me, my work and everything like that was so much more important. Anything that I needed or wanted was like if there's time, you know what I mean? If there's time left after all that stuff. And I've definitely come to the point now where it's like I realize that like I will be happier. I will be happy with myself, and I think the people around me will be happy with me if I'm happy and I get to do the things that I want to do. Doesn't mean you be selfish and it's all about you, but everyone has things they want to accomplish that don't cost anybody else anything.
Do you
And
feel that that mindset pushes you into being selfish more often, though? Even if it's not your intention? Like, do you think that you're selfish more often because of it?
I think you may, especially earlier on, you will feel that way, especially if your partner. Now, my partner is very supportive, but if your partner was like felt like it was threatening your time together, or if they were not necessarily a good partner, it felt like it was threatening their status in the relationship, then yeah, I could definitely see that.
I don't
But
just mean with a
like,
partner. I mean in general. Because I'm
in
assuming you
general,
apply that to your everyday life. Like
oh,
if
yeah,
friends, family, anybody kind of like wants you to do
No,
something.
I like I said, I think once you kind of get in the groove of it, you don't. You have to realize that like it's like the thing they tell you. You have to learn to say no. And when
That
it comes to
that's a big thing.
friends, family, work, like that's a big part of it, right? Look, my work, our staffing is abysmal. Every day they're looking for people to come to work, and they'll call me and just like, yeah, they need me. They don't need me. They'll find someone else. But like, yeah, they say they need me, here today. I'll get it paid a lot of money to stay. But it's like, no, I have other stuff I want to do. Even if it's like, oh, I just feel like going home, taking care of this. Me and my wife are going to go for a walk, something like that. To me, that's more important. If someone wanted me to go do something and I just didn't feel like it's something I wanted to do, if it was, I know if I wasn't hurting their feelings or hurting them, it's like, no, I don't feel like doing that, man. And that's all kind of the same thing. You just gotta start to respect yourself and your wants and needs. And that's something
Yeah,
that I've
you
definitely
gotta have you
changed.
gotta have the balance of everything, and that's a sign of maturity, right?
Hmm.
And knowing when and where and how to do things and balancing things out. And as to your point earlier, Stephen, time isn't promised to anybody. So the things you want to do, the things you need to get done, or just taking a mental break. So like you said, Sean, that you can serve others better because you've gotten that mental break. When you're constantly going, you're constantly on edge. That stress can eat you up, and it bleeds into other aspects of your life, your work, your personal relationships. So you need that time and that ability to kind of reset. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, something you learn as you get older as well, because a lot of people go through that. Um, I've gone through it where I've put everything else in front of what I would need to do or would like to do, and things have fallen off. So yeah, learning to say no is definitely a good thing.
I was gonna say I don't want anyone to think that that is the only thing, right? Like obviously the basic things, your need to take care of your house and home, your loved ones and stuff. These are all things that get stronger, hopefully, as you get older. That the importance of like making sure everything's squared away and stuff, because it's a lot easier to just maintain things than to have to fix them later. Those are important. I don't want you to think that like this kind of or self-serving thing, but like out of all the things that like the most of those things will come natural, but like that putting your needs you know at least somewhat higher on the tier list
I think just
is,
being
is
aware
going
of
to
them.
have a positive effect.
Being aware
Yeah,
of which
even
needs
that
important.
is a good step.
My thing is, I think you don't want to tilt the scale too far in the other direction either.
Oh
I
no,
think you
Of
become
course.
selfish, you become self-centered, and you will start to not consider other people if you just keep thinking, oh, what about me? What about me? What about me? What about me? And you
oh
stop
no.
thinking about other people. So there needs to be a line at some point, or you become the person who only cares about themselves. Some people think that's the best way to live. They're the only person who they're in their head. They don't feel anybody else's feelings. They don't, whatever. But in general, there's a line, and you have to. That's one of the big things for me. And so this isn't to that point, but just a big thing for me from a young age to an older age. Like consideration of other people is something that like I will always put at the top of a list for anything. I just think people should be considerate of others. Something that for me has changed, or important that has changed as I got older, is taking care of myself in some ways. I said this recently on like a post on social media, and this is very recent, where I started to do all the things they told us to do our entire lives that we don't do, right? Getting sunlight regularly, like actually going out and getting sunlight consistently, walking on a daily basis, getting the fresh air, relaxing your eyes, just doing that, getting sleep and getting quality sleep, enough of it. Like all these little things that, we've been told since we were a child to do these things. And I would say that none of the four of us can say that we have made any of them something that we're like, no, I'm really going to strive to do that thing and done it. And that those things are important to me now because I think they have a long lasting effect. When you're not getting enough sleep gradually over time, that is probably lowering your lifespan.
Let me tell you, bud.
Yeah.
That is 100% true.
Yeah. So do those little things. They're important to me now. They're not just things where I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I have to sleep, whatever. Don't need that sunlight. No, it's get it. Get both of those things. Those are important to me now.
Well, that's a key thing there is so when you were younger, you weren't thinking about future, and I don't think anybody really is. So that's the key part there. You're looking at your future, long lasting things. Hey, once you realize, hey, like you said, you're young, you're invincible. I could do anything. Nothing really matters. Nothing. I don't care. When you get older, hey, I'm going to be here a little bit longer. I'm noticing the effects of what I've done to myself when I was younger. Let's take care of myself moving forward so I can stay here as long as possible and as best quality of life as possible. Which brings us into aging.
Physically.
Chris, did Chris give us a point on that?
I don't think so. Chris, what's important? What do you feel? How do we write this question? Do you feel like what's important has changed as you got older?
As you got older.
What the heck?
So I'm gonna just say real base, easy, quality over quantity, and you can apply that to just about everything. I'm much happier being married to my one singular wife than I ever was dating around before. I'm much happier now with this small group of friends than the however many acquaintances I had before. And I think that's important to have. Not everyone that you consider a friend is looking out for you and wants what's best for you.
Ding, ding, ding.
And now we move into aging physically. So we're over an hour in. We're moving into the physical portion. And I guess we'll start off with one of the things for men that just kind of controls a lot of the aging aspects of us, which is testosterone.
Yeah, so it's something that I've looked into a lot here lately. Get into my 30. I'm 33, I believe, and we started doing some better physicals at work where they check that sort of thing. I'm kind of in a bad position because like some of the things they say to kind of keep your testosterone up, exercise. I think a lot of people say lift heavy weights. I do these things. Sleep plenty. Almost anything that wants to do with your health. They're like, you need to sleep well consistently. And it's like, well, I am physically incapable of doing that. Like, I wish that I could just do that, but I just don't work in that sort of job. And I think it definitely, I don't know if that's what's had an effect. My first physical we did with this was a year or two ago. I was within the range, and Steven will probably get a little more to the talk about the range, because we've had conversations about it, but I was on like the lower end, and I was like, I'm gonna check that. And it's weird because like, I checked it maybe a couple months after that. It was a little higher, not significantly, but between like the low end and the mid end, or the middle. And so a couple guys at work have who were kind of in the same boat as me, just being on the low end. Their doctors essentially told them, well, if you're on the low end but you're having symptoms of low T, then we can give you testosterone supplementation. And they started doing that, and I considered it. I strongly did. I made an appointment with someone to go kind of with the same doctor they went to. But then I got to talk to my doctor first, and he was just like, look, here's a couple things you can do. They check some other levels. He said, oh, your vitamin D was low, my vitamin B was low. He's like, take these things, get these up, see if that helps with your energy, see if that helps with, these other things, before we start going down this path, because testosterone is a pretty heavy thing to start getting into. Supplementing, it has a lot of effects on your body, much more than, starting taking vitamins would do. And so I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm definitely open to it. I'm definitely not opposed to it. It's something that if they were like, hey, we'll let you do it, I'm gonna do it. Cause I didn't take advantage of it when my T was high when I was younger, and I wish I had.
Well, you don't even know if you had high T, right? Unless you got
when
tested.
you're young, I mean, just naturally.
You just don't know. You might not. People have different levels.
I mean, people do, but I like a lot of guys who, especially who are in the fitness stuff, I'd like to weigh a little less fat wise. I'd like to be a little more, muscular, different things like that, that obviously plays a huge role in. And so that's kind of my story with it, where I am with it right now. I'm kind of on that fence where, like, soon in the next couple of years, it may be something we consider supplementation wise, but so far it's been enough. We've been good enough.
So before we get further into other people and their thoughts on it, I figured we should give a primer ahead of time. We should have probably done that before yours, but I didn't think of it, so we're going to do it now. So low testosterone, I was going to give kind of what low testosterone can be characterized, and these are the symptoms. Symptoms: low sex drive, erectile dysfunction, low sperm count, fatigue, insomnia, bone loss, reduced muscle mass, increased body fat, hair loss, development of breast tissue, irritability, depression, and cognitive problems. That's in men. So women have a different set of symptoms. Some are similar, loss of bone density, low sex drive, stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's not really pertinent.
Yeah. So, but with the men, those are the symptoms of it. In addition, just to go over the levels really quick of like what's quote unquote normal and the ranges that he was talking about. And I will say ahead of time, I don't like the ranges because they're so vast. So basically to say, what do most people have, right? Most humans are okay living with this number to this number. Doesn't mean they're optimal, right? We don't know optimal. Optimal can be different based on the person, which is where I get really annoyed because I want to be optimal. And that's not how this works. But so children, we're talking like babies, whatever, they're like 7 to 130. So they got no test. Like there's not a lot of tests in babies. And these are nanograms per deciliter.
They're not. These babies aren't very alpha. Is what
they're not. They're not at all. Then between 12
babies
and
are
13,
born beta.
Early teens are between 12 and 13 years old. A person should have 700 to 800 nanograms per deciliter. 15 to 16 goes up to around. I'm sorry, that was 7 to 800, not 700 to 800. That's important. 7 to 800 is the range.
Oh, wow.
And then the next is 100 to 1200 is the range.
Lord.
So that's what I'm saying. These ranges are massive in terms of what like normal is, what the ranges are. Late teens, 17 to 18-year-olds should be around 300 to 1200. And then for adults, 19 and older, anywhere between 240 and 950. So again, a very wide range. And I believe it's accepted once you hit 30 is when that decline starts to happen. And then it kind of kicks up in your 40s and your 50s. But those are the ranges. So Sean was on the lower end. So you were probably somewhere between what? 250 and 400, somewhere in that range.
It was like high threes, around close to 400, like 370-ish maybe.
Yeah. So those are kind of the parameters. And again, that for him, that could be a perfectly fine
the first time. The second
level.
time I was in the high fours.
It's also greatly impacted by like what time of day you do it. Like your test is highest in the mornings and stuff like that.
How much sleep you got the night before, what you ate, all those sort of,
lots of stuff that was impacted. So you want to be consistent and you want to do it at like the same time. Like you want to take your test at the same time. If you do it, in the afternoon versus the morning the first time and your test drops by, 100, 200, well, we know why sort of thing. But I just gave the whole spiel, so I'll wait to give my test stuff if anybody else wants to chime in.
I can tell you that I've seen the commercials, and the symptoms seem like something that could happen for anything, weight gain, erectile dysfunction, like all these symptoms. I guess it's hard for me to determine when these things need to happen. But I guess that's when you need to take the test, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good
something
thing to
I've never,
monitor.
nothing I've ever looked at. I've never had any tests done on it. I am, again, I know I mentioned like it several times in this podcast, but I am 40. Never really looked at it. Never was really on my radar. So, as I am getting older and focusing on my health, maybe I will look at it.
Yeah, I did my first one at 30. Like, so just less than a year ago, I was doing my very first just like overall blood panel. So I got to figure out my vitamin D levels, my testosterone, all the different things. I got it all figured out. And I was in the range.
So, Indy,
That range is massive.
do you do regular physicals?
I do, and I have had the blood work done where they do the panel, where they check potassium levels, iron levels, and a bunch of other random things. I did find out that I'm borderline anemic, borderline, and I changed doctors, and I know we'll talk about some of that little stuff later. But yeah, so I did do the test. I don't know if testosterone was on there, so I'll have to check that out.
I would assume just with your age, that they would throw that in there, but a lot of times they don't unless you ask. So might be something to look into.
Look at me learning today. All right, Chris.
I've had my testosterone levels checked once. I think it was like 24, 25 ish, and all I know is I was in the range. I haven't thought about it or worried about it since.
Yeah. So when I got mine done, I went in and specifically was like, I want to get the full blood test. I want my testosterone checked. I had watched some video or read some article that was like, when you turn 30, like you need to start paying attention to this stuff because it's going to start dropping and your life's going to fall apart and whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look at it. And I went in and it's like, hey, what are you in here for? I want you to test my blood and give me all that. I've never had it done before. I'm 30 and I have no idea where I'm at. And I came back like 640 or something like that. So like in the middle, right? Closer to the high end, but like middle high end. And nobody ever told me, like I wanted them to tell me what's the optimal, like at what point have I reached peak potential? Like you just give me a range and I'm like, that's not helpful. If you say, yeah, 240 to 900 is okay, but like a 750 is freaking perfect, then I want to go for a 750. Give me something to shoot for, but they don't give you that. And that really irritates me about that sort of thing. But it does have a big impact. Testosterone makes a way that it's described, and I talk about this guy all the time, Dr. Huberman in the Huberman Lab podcast. The way that he describes it is it makes hard things feel good. It's something that helps drive you towards things. So when you have good high testosterone, you're trying to move towards those hard things. And so, I mean, who doesn't kind of want to have difficult things feel better than they do? I just think that's good in general. Then of course, all the other parts about, hair loss and stuff like that, which is one of the next points we want to talk about, is the effects of aging. And hair loss is one of the things at the top of our list, which lowering testosterone apparently leads to hair loss. So anybody have any thoughts about that? Something, they've ever been concerned about? Or
I'm concerned about it just because I know it can be hereditary. It's not the side you think it is. It's your mother's side, I think. So it's like your mother's,
your mom's dad,
father, grandparents, whatever. I've never met my mom's dad, but I know he's bald or was bald. And so I've always just been kind of like expecting one morning and there was a little while I was paranoid and I was like, man, my forehead's getting big as hell. Like, where's my hair going? You know what I mean? Like, I already got a big head. You can't do this to me. But yeah, no, I don't think I'm not that stressed about it. I don't have the experience with it right now. So it's just kind of one of those things. It kind of gets lumped in. Like when it happens, then I'll address it, but I'm not stressed.
I don't want it to happen. So my hair is thinning 100%. We've talked about this and Sean's like, you're not balding, whatever. And I had two guys who went bald in their early 20s. Like one's 24, I think the other one's 23 or 25. And they were both bald when I went to the land in June. And I was talking about it. I said, dude, my hair's getting thinner. They both grabbed my head and like started moving around. They're like, you're not balding. They were like, you're not. Because I think they had like the crowning and they had the receding when they started. And they were like, you don't have either one of these things. But I can see my scalp through the front of my hair. I've never been able to do that. When I run my hands through it, there's not as much hair there anymore. Like I 100%, but COVID hair shedding is a thing. And I had COVID in January and they say 3 to 5 months after you have COVID, you'll start to lose hair. And then about 9+ months after that, it'll come back. But I'm like, is it that? or is that I'm 31 now? Like which one is it? Is my hair actually
Either way,
thinning?
bro, it's just happening. So
Exactly.
It is what it is.
Exactly. In my head, I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I like my hair. I like how it is, whatever. But I'm also like, if I go bald, I go bald. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
is what
Man,
it
you're
is.
gonna look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you,
Ridiculously
man.
Big head boy.
I can tell you, I think I think I had dreads when I met first all of you guys, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had my dreads back then, and
How long
I-
did you have your dreads?
God, I had my dreads for about over a decade. I would say 12, 13 years, maybe.
So like
Maybe-
longer
maybe-
than Steven's been alive.
I'll take that, I guess. I'm 30,
But,
31. I mean, I'm the youngest here. I mean, younger than Chris.
You always
but
like to play on how you're
Uh,
younger than everybody else. So.
Yeah, but I
I'm not
had my
following
dreads, and I knew I knew that hair loss was a thing. So when I started my dreads, I was like, you know what? I'm at a point in my life where I can start them, and I was secure in a job, so I didn't have to worry about any repercussions of negative connotations of dreads. And I was like, I'm gonna let them go. And everybody's like, when you gonna cut those things? I was like, man, well, I'll cut them when it's time. So I knew that hair loss was a thing, and I was like, I'm gonna have fun with it before I lose it. So
Mhm.
I did, and I had my dreads so long I was sitting on them. They were getting to me. I was closing them in the car door,
Oh god.
and it was bad. It was bad. I would try to sleep. Wifey was sleeping on them. I'm having to like pull my dreads out from underneath her. But I did cut my dreads for two reasons. One, I was getting older. I was ready for a new look. I was kind of done with them. Second thing, I was thinning, top of the
Mhm.
crown, and those dreads were hanging on, man. And I've seen some coworkers with dreads they were like, I was like, bro, just cut those, please. Like they are screaming, like they are barely holding on by a thread. Just let them go. And I told myself, whenever I got to that point, I'm letting it go. I'm never gonna hold on to them. I'm not. They aren't that much a part of me to where I would have to fight that and feel less of a person. So I cut them off and shaved my head down and went and surprised my mom because my mom hated my dreads, hated them. She said, if you sleep over here, I'm gonna cut them off in your sleep. You're gonna wake up and your dreads are still gonna be on your pillow. So, but yeah, hair loss. I am thinning up top, and I think my grandfather passed away when I was pretty early on my mom's side, but he was bald or balding up top.
Mhm.
My brother has already experienced hair loss younger than me, and he's already cut his head down to the point where he's almost bald, shaving
Mhm.
it on purpose because it's just not there anymore. So I know it's coming. I'm okay with it, and it's funny that we're talking about this and I have a hat on for the first time.
Sorry,
You know,
man.
it's-
I think it's become
Fine
more
with it, man.
accepted, but I still think that unfortunately, there is still this like, oh, that person's balding, as if they have a choice. You
Yeah,
know, like-
I don't know. I don't really see that though. I'm gonna be
People
real
do
pissed
it.
though if I start
People
to
do it.
bald and dad still has a full head of hair.
Yeah. So when
Bro.
people were like, oh, it depends like about, it's
Hereditary.
hereditary. And I was like, yo, my dad's freaking 60 and he's got a full head of hair. Like the dude, it's crazy. And then they're like, oh, no. It's your mom's dad. And I was like, I don't know about him. But yeah,
bald.
if I had
Well, he was
had
bald.
dad's genes when it comes to hair, dude, I'd be good. I'd be so good.
I'm banking on genetics. Every man on my mom's side, they still have their hair, full head of
Yeah.
hair.
So you might be
Yeah,
good.
it's actually more common for Asian women to have thinning hair than Asian men.
Mhm. Well, yeah, women's hair thins a lot too. Like that's another big thing. Like they definitely get that as well. But we get the male pattern baldness. Like ours is just like
Yeah.
hereditary, sort of like you're gonna have
Oh, yeah.
these very specific things. It's gonna recede, and you're gonna get the crown and all that sort of jazz. And like I said, I just started noticing that my hair was thinner, and now I'm trying to keep an eye on if it's receding. So I'm always like looking and trying to figure it out. And it gets one of those things that I don't want it to happen, but I also, if it happened, I would be like, okay, it is what it is. And yet it's still on my mind. Like I still think about that. I still look for it. Like when I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh, my hair feels a little lighter right here, dude. Like, am I losing my hair right here?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. So be honest,
Oh
man.
god, don't do that, man.
I don't know, I can't relate, dude. I've got great thick hair.
Yeah. Either way, hair loss is one that I don't, some people it is a big deal to them. Some people it isn't. I think that in general, hopefully society will stop, making it a big deal because it's hair. You know, it is what
Yeah.
it is. But to some people, it is still a big deal, and it impacts a lot of people, especially people I don't know. I guess we haven't, at least in my knowledge. I guess you had dread, so maybe your hair was a big part of you. But some people, it is like it's like a defining feature of them. Is like the haircut they had, or their what, and so to them, it's like they're losing a bit of themselves, which
Or
I
they're
think
just
it's worth saying
embarrassed
it.
by it. Period.
Yeah.
There's one gentleman in particular at work. There's a couple of them, but there's one gentleman in particular at work. I've seen him without a hat one time, and I mean, it looks like you would think he has a full head of hair because it's here, but you take that hat off, this is where it ends, baby, right at that hat line. And if that hat comes off and like someone playing a trick on him knocks it off and whatever, boy, that hat will come on. He's like a ninja with it. Like it won't even touch the ground. He'll catch it midair and get it back on his head. Like some people are just really stressed out by it.
Yeah,
man.
it bothers them, and so
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it frames your face. It's your face is one of the first thing people look at, and having hair is seen as like an attractive point. You know, it's like you got the muscles, I got the hair, and I got the smile, and it's like I guess part of that whole package
it's-
type of deal.
you get used to it too.
Hey,
He's describing himself.
I don't have the hair, so
So moving on to the next part, pain that you get as you get older, any sort of stuff like that. Sean just like smiled, like pain.
God, bro.
And then just staying fit in general, you know, because that can help combat some of the aging issues.
So I think for this one, I think we can all just admit that we have pain as we've gotten older, so we don't need to drag this out for too long.
Yeah.
You get older, you get more pain. You need to stay more fit.
Yeah, that about sums it up. But so the things you're talking about with going to physical therapy and doing all that stuff, don't neglect that. And I would even tell people do it younger than you're doing it. And I haven't
for
started
sure.
doing it like that. Start paying attention to stuff. Start doing the stretching and the yoga, all those things the right way when you're in your 20s. So when you hit 30 and 31 and 32 and 33, you're not going, man, I should have got my shoulder checked out. Like
All
it's
those
getting
random
jacked up.
pains that you got when you were younger and they just went away, they'll come back.
Yeah.
And it's going to be worse. So
Yeah, now-
take care of yourself when you're younger so it's not so bad when you're older.
Well, with the physical therapy part, that was one of the eye-opening things for me. I tell this story constantly, and I actually told it today at work. But after our car accident that we had, I had to go to physical therapy. So I come in, and I left straight from work, straight to the physical therapist's office, still wearing my dress pants, my polo shirt, and they're like, "Okay, you want to go change and we can get started?" And I was like, "What do you mean change?" They're like, "You didn't bring a change of clothes?" I was like, "No, I thought I came here and my back was hurting. I thought you guys were gonna give me some massaging, maybe use a TENS
bud.
unit on me, and so that you can help loosen up the muscles and help get things worked out." They're like, "No, the way to deal with your pain is to make your back stronger. You to be stronger. We're gonna work out whatever is hurting. We're gonna work it out to the point where your body no longer has to rely on that that system, and just gonna make it stronger." And that was an eye-opening point for me. Two things: I started bringing a change of clothes, but knowing that you need to work through that stuff, and babying yourself and doesn't really work. You have to do the work, and you have to get out there and get physical and take care of those muscles and keep those muscle groups active, because it's a very simple thing, we all know it, but your muscles keep your bones and everything else in line, and that's a very core
Yeah.
part of you. It's a core part of who you are.
And the thing is that, like, even like someone like myself or Steven who lifts regularly, goes to the gym, does stuff like that, we don't work the right stuff a lot of the time. So everything that I'm doing in physical therapy for my back is strengthening muscles that are kind of proximal to the stuff I'm like, I do squats, I work on my quads, I'm working different parts of my legs, doing deadlifts, hamstrings, whatever. But like that outer part of your glute, that all those muscles that kind of make up the hip, the outside of your pelvic girdle and things like that, like the stuff that none of those things really hit dead on. So that when like you could squat like a ton of weight and deadlift a ton of weight, but they put one band on your knees and they're like, "All right, now spread your legs 20 times," and you're like, "Damn, this burns."
Yeah.
This is tough, man. It's because you're working muscles that you don't work the other way. But the purpose of working those muscles to strengthen them is to compensate and help bring everything back into alignment.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're not going to be in there typically unless you like don't, unless there's particular problems with it. They're not going to have you doing regular stuff. It's going to be doing stuff you you wouldn't normally do in a gym and stuff like that. So
Yeah, they're working a lot of the extra muscles around the muscles that you think it is.
Yeah.
You know,
So my
I'd go in there
back
and be like, yeah, dude, there's this one problem. They'd be like, no, we're going to strengthen this. We're going to strengthen that other part. It's actually
Exactly.
connected to this part down here. And that's what's causing the, misalignment. And,
That said, you need to do that.
yeah.
Our bodies are like houses. We have a foundation that we have to build up.
Hey, look at
Yeah,
you,
so
dude.
my back hurt,
Shut
and
up.
I went in, and they were like, "All right, we're gonna have to use some planks," and I was like, "What?" I'm planking, and I'm doing side planks, and I'm like, "But it's my back," and they're like, "No, we're working everything."
Yeah,
works
they want to
together."
work
Yeah,
your
the core
core
is a big
because
part, bud.
that is a massive part. Yeah. Is that'll help you with almost just like anybody who wants to be into heavy lifting and all that. Your core is a massive part of that. You're doing a lot of that. So
You can't
again,
stabilize, you can't do anything.
not to dwell on this part too much because I think we all are gonna share similar sentiments. I think the main thing to drive home for anybody listening or watching is to get ahead of this and to take care of yourself. And that's gonna come up later with men and taking care of themselves and stuff like that. But when do this stuff early, start stretching, start working on those muscle groups, start going to physical therapy or whatever it might be to focus on it. Don't let it get to, because I'm telling you, we all were you at some point. We were all the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old, the 18-year-old who was like, dude, I feel great. None of this stuff bothers me. I'm never going to have that. I take care of myself. You're still going to have aches and pains. You're still going to have a shoulder or a hip or a, whatever that's kind of messed up, and you leave it for too long and it builds upon itself and then it causes issues with other parts of your body. So take home message, go get this stuff checked out. Take care of yourself early. That's it. Take care of yourself early.
Oh, yeah.
Next up we have on here is another part of aging along with the testosterone and hair loss is erectile dysfunction, which apparently starts to kick in again 30s, gets a lot heavier in your 40s and 50s sort of thing as the test levels drop. But I think other things might impact that as well. Although, as we talked about in a previous episode, this has started to hit people at a much, much, much younger age as well. Like plenty of people in their early 20s are now getting this instead of it's not just an old man's thing. It is
It's for
something that's
different
impacting people.
reasons.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah,
can be for different
I think
reasons.
regardless of reasons.
Yeah. But this is something that happens and it does come generally with age, but it can happen earlier. So if you're having it earlier, maybe look into that. But when it comes into just getting older, it is something that's going to happen to you. So
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is that ED isn't strictly like everything. There's a gradient, right? And so some things may frighten you, but aren't necessarily ED. So as you get older, the ability to just be, bam, I'm ready to go during certain times is going to lessen. So like after you eat a good meal and you're laying down to go to sleep at night and your significant other rolls over and they're like, hey, what's up? And you're like, all right, let's do this thing. And then you're like, damn, why isn't this thing working? What's wrong with you? Come on, buddy, get in the game. And like the first time that happens is probably gonna be like, man, I feel like shit. The thing you gotta realize is just as you get older, sometimes you're just not. And it's all tied in this system, your testosterone, and all these other things going on. But stuff like that, it's stress, your sleep, your diet, all this stuff are going to
the heavy meal
way
before
heavier.
pulls the
All
blood
of that's
away.
going to weigh heavier now. You could have lived a shitty, just overall, you were just not taking care of yourself at all in your early 20s, and that thing's going to work. But when you get older, you got to keep that stuff in mind that like the shittier you live your life, the more infrequent those times where you're like full-blooded ready to go, they're gonna lessen. Like it's you've got to be better again, like everything. Get ahead of it, start taking care of yourself, and don't feel bad about it. Do not feel bad about it. Shit happens.
It is a thing that happens to men. It doesn't get talked about, and that's what we're talking about here in this podcast, bringing things to light that a lot of people don't want to discuss or want to be honest about, but it happens. And like you said, it will happen with age, and don't be ashamed.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if it's like an ongoing, like I just can't ever get it to work, that kind of thing, then we're talking about genuine erectile dysfunction. Doctors, visits, stuff like that. That's where we need to go on. We're not doctors. We're not giving you recommendations, but do your research, talk to your doctor when it comes to stuff like that. But in general, yeah.
I mean, that's, I would say, is there's going to be points where it's just going to happen, and that can be tied to a bunch of different stuff: your diet, your mental at that time, whether you're stressed, blah blah blah, you're just not in the mood. Again, the libido could just be down, like your actual desire could just be down. If it's not repetitive, if it's not consistently that, just hopefully your partner, whoever it is, also understands this is life. Sometimes they're not in the mood, sometimes you're not in the mood, sometimes things don't work, and that's just the way it goes. And hopefully they can look past that. Now, if it becomes consistent, see a doctor. Go see what can be done about that, what changes you can make, get your testosterone checked, all that sort of jazz. But it's gonna happen. I just think more people should be aware of that. As long as it's not a consistent thing, and as long as you're open about it, and people understand it and recognize it, both men and women, that when it happens, just be like, okay, it happened. We'll try it again, later. We'll try it tomorrow, whatever. Like, how can we improve this? Just don't make it this negative thing, that a naturally happening thing, right? Your body's just gonna do it sometimes. People just need to respect that, understand that, and work with their partner for stuff like that.
So next up on our list, wrinkling. Is
Yeah,
anybody else bothered by this? Anybody else scared of not having the plump, juicy young skin that you have right now?
But you see my forehead?
Bothered
I'm
when you say
already
plump, juicy, young skin.
I'm already on my way to wrinkles. It's all right.
Yeah, not really. I know it's happened. I mean, I remember, Sean, yeah, a picture popped up on my Facebook recently from 7 years ago at the Paramore concert with Fall Out Boy and all that jazz. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you look like a baby compared to now. I saw that and was like, oh my goodness, 7 years, and that looks like a different person.
Well, that's what sleeping for 4 hours or less a night for 10 nights at least out of the month will do to you.
Yeah. But in general, I mean, it's people are going to age, they're going to look older and stuff like that. Except unless you're our dad until you're 40, you'll just look the exact same all the way through. But
even now, it's not that different.
yeah, he's got some
there's
genes.
no mistaking. If you saw him as a teenager and a picture of him now, you'd be like, oh, that's the same dude.
Yeah.
100%. There's no doubt. Yeah, he looks older, but not that much older.
Yeah.
You know?
You look as much different in that 7-year picture as he does from his 20s until his 55, 60s.
Oh,
so,
God,
bro, I was shocked. I saw that and I was just like, because you never think about it. You watch somebody age, when they're with you, and you don't really notice that stuff, right? But then you go back and you see a picture and you're like, wait, wow, you really do look different. I mean, so I see myself and I go, I don't look much older, a little bit, but not much. And then I go and see a picture of me when I was 20 and I go, oh, yeah, there's a little bit more here and a little bit more there, and
I look much handsomer, more rugged. You know what I mean?
You are very handsome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Chris has been telling me that I look older. I used to say this. I'd be like, Chris, I really think we've aged well. I'm like, from when we met till now, I don't think we're that different. He'd be like, I can see it when you smile.
Oh, yeah,
that would be his
right.
response.
I have aged well.
Yeah, he just
No,
been
Chris-
when you smile, I
Chris,
see
I
your
don't-
wrinkles, dude.
I've seen this know Chris a lot longer. Chris has not changed a single bit. Looking at him now, I'm looking at each of us, and I'm like, man, Chris is so smooth. Why are you so smooth?
I've got the laugh lines on the corners of my eyes, but that's really about it.
I'm trying
I
to go.
haven't wrinkled much. I've gained weight.
I've gained weight. I have not wrinkled. I don't know. Maybe it's the black man thing, but I moisturize, man. I can't walk around. Can't walk around ashy, man.
No, I'm
So
telling you. So I'm
I keep
pulling
that, I
up
keep
a
that
picture.
skin moisturized.
I'm pulling up a picture right now that I'm looking at of Chris in 2015, and looking at him he looks like a little baby. Not so much now. I'm telling you. Again, you don't realize it until you actually go back and see yourself. Because I thought I looked
side by side.
Yeah, and then and you're like, wait, and you're looking back in the mirror, and you're like, well, hold on a second. I've actually gone. But I do think in general, we've aged well. It's just not as well as maybe we think sometimes. I think that's the main point. So,
Get that SPF out, boys.
yeah.
All right, so let's move on into the medical aspects, and I think we've touched on this quite a bit, in the past. But
It should go pretty quick. I think a lot of
preventative
it.
healthcare.
Yeah, that preventative thing, like we said earlier, man, start taking care of yourself. And as you get older, it gets a little more serious of what you would do, So obviously we've talked about the physical therapy stuff. If you got these aches and pains, start getting them taken care of as soon as possible. Don't let it get on and on and on until it gets worse. The same thing with like any issue. It's like, man, I just can't seem to sleep at night. Or it's like, well, I'm always tired all the time, no matter how much good sleep I get. Look into those things. I did a sleep study, because of that. Turns out it's, my job. But the thing is, like, all of these things, like, quit being a hard ass about it, man. Like, just take care of yourself. Because when you get older and you start, these issues compound and they get worse because you never got ahead of it, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret that so bad. Ask any older dude with like serious medical conditions, if I could go back in time, would I just go to the doctor? They're going to say, absolutely. I do it every day of the week if it would keep me from getting to where I am now.
That's what. So I wanted to ask that. I think all four of us, so maybe not Chris, I think most of us would say we wish we would have done some preventative stuff for how we feel now in our 20s.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we've done the stats before on this podcast, but men do not go seek care unless it's dire. We wait till things. Oh, it didn't resolve after 2 months. Maybe I'll go see somebody, or I physically am not able to do something that I wasn't able to do before. I had some pains, but now I physically can't move, so now I'm gonna go see somebody. Don't wait till it gets to that point. I'd also expect a good quality from your healthcare.
Yeah.
Something that I did not really look into or pay attention to when I was younger and I go to the hospital, I have asthma. So I go and get seen, and I was just there for the prescription. Give me my inhaler. I'm out. I'm fine. And I that was basically my healthcare. That's what I expected. I come in there, they take my temperature, do all my stats, give me my prescription, I'm out. As I got older, things are not working the way they used to. I'm having issues. I'm having blood pressure issues, things like that. And I go to the doctor, or even when I brought up that test earlier, I did my panel test. I was borderline anemic. My doctor wrote on there, everything looks good. Have a great day. And sent it to me in the mail. I got no phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
No, hey, let's discuss your numbers. Let me explain to you what this is. My wife was like, what's going on with your doctor? He never talked to you about any of this stuff. And look at your results. You're borderline anemic. That's an issue. Something you need to look into. Never brought it up.
Yep.
And she was like, you need to change your primary care doctor. This guy's using you for your insurance money. You're just a number. Go somebody who's actually going to care. So I actually had a doctor's appointment today for my blood pressure medication. She's been switching them around, figuring out which ones I should be taking with the dosing. So I finally got my numbers good. Numbers are great. I've actually lost a couple pounds as well. But she's noticing these things. She's talking about them. And she's getting me an action plan.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, how are your sleep? Maybe you need to do a sleep study. I told her I was having some sleep problems. I'm resting, but I'm not feeling rested. She's like, hey, let's get you to a specialist. What else do you have going on? Like, she's trying to come up with a plan for my healthcare. She's concerned about my life. She also knows my wife. So she's like, hey, I know you guys are having a kid and you're trying to get yourself better for your kid. Your high blood pressure can lead to kidney problems, which can lead to this and this and this. Let's take care of that so your organs are there and you're healthy for a long term for your child. So having somebody that's talking to me like that really shook me. I was like, holy cow, this person really cares about me. So expect that level of care. Don't just put it off.
I was disappointed.
Yeah, we talked about that on the mental health episode. Just don't settle when you're looking for a doctor.
Yeah, just like the
find
therapist.
the one that's right for you. Yeah, just like a therapist. Find the one that's right for you, that's going to help you. And then just in general, when you decide, to stop being a dumbass and actually going to the doctor, be honest with your doctor and ask questions.
Yeah.
Also,
they're there for a reason, and
yes,
don't make it harder on them.
If you have the ability, learn your family's medical history. There's a lot of things in my family that weren't talked about, and I had to ask questions, or it would come up in casual conversation. I'm like, what? What do you mean so-and-so had cancer? That's something I should know. When you go to the doctor, they're like, hey, does anybody in your family have any prior history? You're like, nope, I'm good. Everybody's fine.
Yep.
So I found out, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode as well. My grandfather had colon cancer and passed away from that. I didn't find that out until much later in life, and men are getting that a lot earlier now. We used to start testing I think around 60s or mid 50s. Now they're telling men to do it when they're 50 or maybe even 45, and if you have prior history, to do it at 40. So I had my first colonoscopy at 40. Um, Let me tell you that prep sucks, but yeah,
Talking about losing a couple pounds.
yeah, not being able to eat and just having everything flow out of your body like liquid lava is not fun for 2 days. But I went in, got the, I had a polyp, they removed it, clean bill of health, they checked it, everything was fine. Don't have to come back for another 10 years. So do those preventative maintenance. Don't put your health off.
Yeah, the family history thing's important. Also, keep in mind your occupation. I know I tie mine into the conversation a lot, but like, so in my field, we are 40% or over 40%, I think is a statistic now, more likely for a large amount of the cancers, especially colon cancer and breast cancer. It's mostly to deal with the gear we wear, and it collects all of the soot and the carcinogens and stuff like that, and then we put it back on our body and things like that, and just the exposure to the carcinogens, stuff like that in general. So like, that is something that I'm going to be here in the oncoming years, is like definitely getting more and more checked into, just because of what I do for a living. Cholesterol is one thing that I have an issue with, and health wise, it's really the only thing that really ever comes up on my stuff, and it is a hereditary thing. I believe my mom and my dad have cholesterol issues, and just as an aside, they said the recommendation was that I cut back on eating meat and dairy. And to the uneducated, I haven't eaten meat in at least 15 years. Like, it's been quite a minute, and so like they were just like, oh, okay, then it's just genetic. I was like, what the hell, man?
Like, stop eating meat and cheese. You're like, I've been vegan for 15 years. They're like, what the hell?
Yes, you're fucked.
So
I
I try to make better decisions on that, right? Like, just on what I eat and things like that. I don't eat a lot shitty, regularly anyways. But like, even when there's a certain food truck in town that we like, but it's just like deep fried, good comfort food, and I'm like, I'm not going to participate. I will take you there and get you what you want, but I'm just not going to do it. As much as I hate it, I have to look after that. You know what I mean?
I had slightly higher cholesterol as well. So mine was where I feel like I could bring it down. I order out a lot. I ordering burgers and wings and stuff, but I live a relatively active life, and therefore, and I'm not super heavy or anything, so I have some things going for me. But even I didn't think I would, and I saw you kind of have high cholesterol too, and I'm like, well, dang, it really, genetics got me, man. Hate to see it.
Family history, man.
Just unlucky.
Yeah.
So we talked about are you guys more concerned when things go on now? Like, are you more, so I think a good way to put it is, are you more likely now to immediately get something checked out, or are you still going to be hard-headed about it?
I am much more likely to get something checked out now.
Yeah.
Because
I would say I'm
old enough to where I know that small issues can lead to a bigger problem in the future.
Yeah.
Or are just, precursors to something that I may already have and don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm more likely, but it's still, there's a little bit of hard-headedness there. I still let things probably sit a little too long, where I'm like, maybe I don't have to go. Maybe like my shoulder. I've been like, let me just try to work on this. And I'm like trying to do stretches and trying to do whatever and trying to sort it out and stretch this and move that and flex this. And I can't, like, it's only getting worse, and I haven't gone and done anything about it yet. So
No,
I mean, my
definitely...
whole mindset has changed just in the last couple of years. So I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I was still living in Virginia, I had a staph infection in my foot, and it was swelled up to the point where I couldn't put a shoe on, and I just continued going about my days like nothing was wrong.
So I'm definitely more concerned when things happen now as well. And one of my favorite YouTubers, with B is for Build, he had a skin issue on his lower back, and he knew it was there, wasn't really too concerned about it. I'll get it checked out later, I'm busy. Turned out he had a skin cancer that they had to remove, and he's doing chemo now and a bunch of other stuff. And kind of like with us in our podcast, the one thing he always pushes: go get checked out. Don't let these small things go. He says, if you think it's going to take a lot of your time now to go get that stuff, taken care of, wait till you're sitting in a chair for hours doing chemo, because you didn't want to go take that hour to go to the doctor to go get it looked at. So, yeah, I'm definitely more concerned, and I pay attention. I wasn't really too focused on my body when I was younger, because again, I was invincible. Nothing mattered. But now I'm starting to take notice of those little things my body's trying to tell me, and I'm trying to get them taken care of.
I'm invincible.
That's it.
So I think, again, going back to those takeaways, everybody's going to age. You're not going to be able to avoid it. Preparing for it, one, both mentally
Accept it.
and physically. Accepting it, preparing for it, taking care of yourself early. These are the big takeaways. Being honest with yourself. I mean, with the podcast, be honest, man, about it, and recognizing when things are a problem and making the right decisions for yourself, which shows that maturity. We're not telling everybody grow up right away. If you're young and you're listening to this, have fun, enjoy yourself. You don't have to make every right decision in your life, but take care of yourself, because I promise you, your 28-plus-year-old version of yourself is gonna wish that you would have gotten those things checked out, and that you would have done that stretching, and that you would have gone to the therapy, physical therapy and stuff like that. So make sure you do that. This is the conclusion of the episode, so make sure you go follow us on all of our socials. You can find them at BeHonestMan.com. You can find us Be Honest Man Pod on just about every social media platform, or BHM Pod. So go find us, follow us. We'd greatly appreciate that. And as always, until next time, be honest, man.